Wolfram Alpha is getting a lot of buzz. It's the computational engine known as a Google killer, but it's really totally different. It's not even a search engine. Rafe Needleman here to help me compare them side by side. Welcome, Rafe.
Tom?
Let's dig in and show the people what the difference is. First of all, what is generally Wolfram Alpha?
Well, first let's put it in context of Google, because that's what everybody's comparing it to. Google is a search engine that finds links. Wolfram Alpha is an engine that finds answers. So if you have a numerical question or something that's in a database somewhere, Wolfram should be able to find the answer to it directly. So for example, let's try value of pi. Google knows a bunch of things already. It has some rudimentary mathematical chops. So it'll tell us that pi is 3.141 and a couple of digits after that.
Gives it to us for eight decimal places, not bad.
And then a whole bunch of links about pi. Now try it on Wolfram. Wolfram gives you all sorts of mathematical stuff, and click on more digits there.
Yeah,
it's calculating pi right
now. 8 digits, it can keep going.
So Wolfram is about finding the answers to questions. It'll give you the source information if you want it, but basically the idea is that it gives you the answers itself directly.
So we use Google for that, but it's not really meant for that. It's an index, right? We can just use Google for lots of different things. Wolfram Alpha is specific. It's like we answer questions. As long as you can compute them, though.
Right.
As we will see.
So here's a good example of one. There's a hex code here. This is a blue screen of death error code. And if you put
when the Windows just goes kaplooey,
it'll give you this number in some cases, and if you put it into Google, you'll actually get a very useful result, a whole bunch of links telling you what that error code is. Try that on Wolfram Alpha. It converts it to the decimal, 119.
Oh, that's handy.
A little less useful.
Now, to be fair, if you put a hex code in, a lot of times you may want a conversion. So that's what Wolfram Alpha is good for.
Right, but Google knows that if you put in that particular hex code, the chances are a lot higher that what you want to know is why your Windows machine just crashed, and it will tell you that, and Wolfram won't.
So Wolfram's good at math, essentially, right?
Wolfram isn't just about mathematics, though. It's about anything that is represented numerically and that it has in its database of numbers and figures. So let's try, for example, tides. Now, in Wolfram, it knows where we are from our IP address, and it knows what time it is, and it'll tell us that the San Francisco low tide just passed, and when the high tide will be and how high it'll be.
That's perfect. That's exactly what you need to know.
Exactly what you want to know when you put in tides. Try it in Google.
You put it in Google, you get a bunch of sites that tell you, this is what a tide is. This is where you can buy tide. This is, I mean, it's all over the place.
It'll have links where you can actually find the tide tables.
But it doesn't pop it up because Google spikes its results sometimes, as we'll see later. But they haven't done that with tides yet. Now, the one thing that they do it with is movie times. So if you put in movie times, it does what Wolfram did with tides. It tells you, hey, I know you're in San Francisco by your IP address. Here are the show times for San Francisco. Click on this. Here's a couple of the recent top movies and when they're shown, in case, we're trying to guess what you want here.
This is an area where Wolfram...
Yeah, but Wolfram's like, I don't know.
This is an error message people are going to get used to. Wolfram isn't sure what to do with your input. If you put in mortgage, $800,000, 6%.
You get a YouTube video.
You get a YouTube
about $800,000 mortgages from CNN.
That's a video of somebody who had an $800,000 mortgage and how they're about to be foreclosed on.
Yeah, not so relevant. Put it in Wolfram. You get the fixed rate. You get the payments. You get the graphs. Another one that's similar to that is currency exchange, which I've used quite a bit. Now, this is what's interesting. Google, you put in $5,000 in yen with the dollar sign. You don't get much. You maybe get some links to where you can do the conversion. If you put it into Wolfram, it not only gives you the conversion, but it also gives you a graph of what the conversion rate has been, so you can tell which way it's trending. All other kinds of additional currency conversions in case you also wanted to know euros while you're there. Google will actually give you a conversion. You just have to put it $5,000 in yen instead of with the dollar sign.
And then it does the math for you.
Yeah.
Both engines, if you get the syntax wrong, they don't help, and they don't tell you what you're missing. So something to be aware of in both of them.
I want to go to an example of something that Google does very well, which you mentioned earlier, links.
Yes.
You just want a link to a website. You're looking for the San Jose Mercury News, and if you type in sanjosemercurynews.com, I'm not sure whether you go to the site or not. I just want to find out what it is, so I put it in, boom, first result, mercurynews.com. I can click on that, I go right there.
Even with a little bit of site structure underneath it.
If I put that in Wolfram, it tells me the circulation of the San Jose Mercury News. But it's not meant for that. It's not meant for links. And this is where it's very obvious that these aren't necessarily direct competitors.
So Google is good at answering questions that have already been asked or written about, and Wolfram is better for answering new questions. So for example, your great example, how did Romanticism influence Ernest Hemingway? maybe somebody has written an essay and
In
look, they
fact,
already have.
there you go.
Right.
Hemingway's Romanticism essay. It's actually by Hemingway, I think, in this case. But you got lots of other resources where you can investigate that question. But again, Wolfram Alpha, don't know.
Not so much
Don't-
on the
yeah, that's a
liberal
little
arts
too
there.
qualitative for
Yeah.
them.
Now, for the last result, let's look at where the two sites are kind of converging. So let's try population San Francisco. Now this is interesting. This is Google, and Google actually has a chart of publicly available data, which is pretty current, July 2008. And if you go into that link, you can find that you can compare San Francisco to other cities just by clicking on them on the side there. So San Francisco compared to Calhoun County, Alabama. On Wolfram, you also get a chart, but this is interesting. It's a 2004 estimate, not the 2008 data we got from Google, and you don't know what else you can do with it just by looking at it. So this is an area where the two search engines are kind of fighting it out to incorporate data.
And it shows a difference in the way they acquire it. Google goes out on the web and indexes as much as it can find and feeds it back. And Wolfram is curated. It takes data and puts it in a database. It doesn't necessarily go out and spider things the way Google does.
Right. Now, you had a couple of examples here of questions that Wolfram is actually much better at than Google.
Yeah.
And let's look at some of those.
Google has some Easter eggs too. These are some Easter eggs in Wolfram Alpha that are kind of fun to end on. What is the meaning of life? Well, Google's going to give you all this philosophical mucky-muck articles about the purpose and significance of human existence. Ask Wolfram Alpha what the meaning of life is. It tells you, 42.
And it has a source?
Yeah, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. See?
That's pretty accurate.
So all in all, what would you use Google for versus Wolfram Alpha, you think?
I would use Google to find web pages that I know are out there. I would use Alpha to find tides, life expectancy data, how the airflow around an airfoil works, all the scientific stuff out there that can be calculated but isn't necessarily already answered.
Safe to say Wolfram's good for things that have a number in the answer?
Yes.
Okay. There you go. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope that helps you out.